Hey everybody, I'm on the line right now with one of the participants in the Ring of Honor Pure Championship tournament. He's one of the two finalists that you're going to see competing for the championship this weekend on Ring of Honor television. Tracy Williams, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, Bill. Thank you for having me. Very pumped for this week. Very excited.
Yeah, big weekend is an understatement to say the least. It's the championship tournament finals are here. It's been going on for a few weeks. Not only is Ring of Honor back, but companies back in a big way. And when it comes to the tournament itself, I feel like many people thought they were going to see Jay Lethal coming out of your side of the bracket, Block A. Do you consider your win last week an upset by any means?
Um, it's a big accomplishment for sure. I struggle with the word upset uh, because I think that sometimes takes something away from a win, and a win is a win, and it was a clean, decisive win. So it's definitely a big accomplishment. I definitely don't take Lethal's standing in the company lightly or his history as a wrestler lightly. I know how big of a deal it is. I think it really sank in when it aired, and I got to see the reaction from everybody. I think as a wrestler, so much of our perception of ourselves and our accomplishments are based on how other people react to them. And in this environment where there's no crowd until it airs on television, we didn't have that feedback right away. So it only really sunk in, I think, the other day, sort of how big of a deal that is. And it's a big deal. Yeah. So maybe you could say it's an upset, but I think it was well earned.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's going to take the win away from you, but it just felt like beforehand everybody had, bracketology is very
Yeah.
popular in basketball, and they're like, okay, here's the favorite coming in, and that seemed to be the name coming out of the A block, and then the B block was a little more up for grabs, so to speak. So, do you feel like in even hearing that maybe it put a chip on your shoulder? That
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, it's a great feeling to like bust brackets like that. Definitely. I mean, it's that's huge, and it certainly does put a chip on your shoulder. Especially, I think coming into that contest, into the semifinals. I spoke about it on the TV show. I mean, Lethal didn't even mention my name coming into the match. He was already sure he was in the finals. He had his bracket set. He figured this was just the next step, the next little bump to get to the finals, and I think that was a mistake because I had the opposite mindset. My mindset was 100% focused on that match, and I think it showed. So yeah, it definitely puts a chip on your shoulder, and I'm carrying that chip into the finals as well because I'm seeing the same thing now. I'm seeing a lot of people going online and saying, well, this is Williams did a great job throughout this whole thing, but this thing's clearly made for Gresham. This is clearly Gresham's thing. This is
Mhm.
going to be for him. So, yeah, I'm carrying that same chip into the finals and looking to just bust brackets on every step through this thing.
And I mean, not for nothing, but you come into the company with some name value. It's I think the chip is that I think is well earned as well, because if you're giving three guys out of 16 a shot, then you're gonna have some people that are coming in and really want to either prove people wrong or shut people up. And I think seeing the different approaches about it was really interesting, because the pure tournament is very regimented, rule based. So, I mean, do you feel like you kind of broke out as far as what type of person you are outside of the ring, just as far as not only having that chip, but maybe a little trash talk? Like, did you feel like you wanted to do that a little bit more?
Yeah, for sure. Going into it, I didn't really know how much of an opportunity we were going to have to do that sort of thing. But they interviewed the winners of every fight right after. Like you walk right out of the ring, walk right to the booth with Quinn, and do the interview right after, which was great. I think um, it's a really nice inside look at like where people's heads are at right after they fight, right after they come back through that curtain. So that was a great opportunity, and I definitely feel like to some extent I broke out because like you were saying, the chip on my shoulder goes back not just in this tournament, but to my whole time here in ROH, where like I've been here for a while, like you said, and had somewhat of a spotlight. But I think it's up until now the Ring of Honor audience hasn't really had a chance to really get to know me or really get to see what I can do at all. I've had like a couple big singles matches in the company, but nothing that I really felt was a true indicator of who I am as a wrestler and where I am as a wrestler. And I think this is the first big step in the company to do that. So yeah, I think that's really awesome, and I'm really glad to see the company taking those chances and putting their bets on pure wrestling for right now and hitching their horse to that wagon. I think is great because I want to see how far that can go, and seeing a positive reaction to that from so many people online is really really rewarding and really promising. I think for there to be a true alternative in professional wrestling for people that want to see that.
Mhm. One of the other groups you've always been linked with is Catchpoint, and that was a big part of Evolve for a few years. So when the Pure Championship tournament was first brought up, I mean, how quickly did you say yes? Like, did you, what kind of thoughts when it wasn't even the tournament wasn't even official at one point? It really just started with a tweet online, like, oh yeah, wouldn't it be cool if they brought it back? And you're like, are you going to the bosses like, hey, you know what, bring it back, like I'd be great for this?
Yeah, I mean, it all happened pretty quick. I think, like, definitely, as soon as I saw any rumblings of that, I think I made it known that, like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, this is what I want to see, and this is what I think the company should be about, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and yeah, like you said, I mean, it goes back a while to Catchpoint, and pretty much my whole career, that's been what I've hung my hat on, and what the flag I've been trying to plant everywhere I go. And when that group split up, Catchpoint, and we all ended up in different companies, it's kind of harder to make those moves when you are split up. There was a time where we were all together and we had this like group mindset where like, well, we make up a good chunk of the card here, so we're going to determine what the style of this company is and what the direction this company goes in. But when you're just one guy, getting signed to a company, it's really tough. So yeah, when that opportunity presented itself and it seemed like this was a possibility that the pure title was going to come back, that was like, yeah, this like beacon of like, well, now's my chance to like really latch onto this and make something happen in this company. And anybody else in the company that felt the same way did the same thing. And I think that real passion and real energy to push something like that forward is, I think, why it's going so well. Knock on wood, it's going well right now, and I think that's because we believe in it. There are people in this company and people all around watching it that really believe in it, and that's like something real. It's not just like some promotional thing to try to like get viewers or try to like get followers or hashtags or whatever. It's like this is really what we believe in, and we're pushing that and living that.
Now, keeping that mindset as a focus, how does that change you as a wrestler coming into Ring of Honor when you join Lifeblood, and that's a completely different dynamic where it's not, and you're not going to do Catchpoint over again because different company, different people, you want to reinvent yourself. But how does joining that group change you as a wrestler?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And I wish we had more time to do that. I wish we had more time with such a diverse group to really see what it could be. But that just wasn't how the cards fell. It was our paths just all kind of split. But yeah, I think there was some really cool potential there, and it was nice that everybody was different. It made it different from something like Catchpoint or something more universally focused on one thing. It was diverse, and that also allowed for, if we were going to learn from each other, it also allowed us to thrive in our lane.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's like if we were going to be a star, each point has its own thing. We're all growing in our own direction as a group, but it's just not the way fate happened. Things change and people go different places, and so it didn't shake out that way. I think there was potential, but it was also a learning experience in that way to see what it is that makes a group like that work. And I think what you need to make a group like that work is a true tie that binds, a true thing in common. Doesn't need to be everything, but you need to have that one thing that you really, really all believe in to push it forward and really believe in it. And I'm feeling that now in the Pure tournament. Even though we're all competing with each other, I'm feeling that tie more than ever now, because we all believe in this. And so it's interesting that we're fighting against each other, but you can tell that there's a base level philosophy that everybody's
Mm-hmm.
trying to rise up and build on. And I think it'll be interesting to see where that goes when this tournament shakes out. And then we got to go back to normal, so to speak, and go back to a regular schedule. How do we take pure wrestling and not let it go back to the sideline, not let it become just a niche thing, but keep it as this, spotlight?
Mhm. I didn't watch it when it was going on at the time, but in hindsight, it feels like that is what happened the first time around. So I think that's really important not to let it go by the wayside. And
Mm-hmm.
one of the other things I wanted to ask about is your path to the finals. You had a reunion of sorts with Fred Yehi in the second round. So what was that like? You have your first round matchup, you have a game plan, and then do you look ahead and say, hey, maybe I get him in the second round? Here's what I can do. Like did you ever, when you guys were in Catchpoint, like think, okay, here's how I can improve each other in case we ever split up and have to work against each other? Because
Oh yeah,
usually,
for sure. I mean, even at the time, that was our philosophy at the time, was that we were a group, a stable or whatever, but we were always down to compete with each other. It's like if we're going to live by this philosophy that we're competitors and that competition is the most important thing, and that competition makes you stronger, then we have to compete with each other. Otherwise, we're not growing as much as we can. And so even back then we had that mindset, and we would be always, down to compete with each other and fight each other. And then at the end of the day, hang our hats on the fact that we share that same philosophy. And so, yeah, like when it came now, years since I've even seen Fred Yehi, years since we've locked up or, trained or been in the same ring or anything. When I'm looking at the brackets, obviously I'm hoping I advance, but I'm also hoping Fred advances, because
mm,
I really wanted that chance to compete with him again and see how far he's come. And he's come really far. I mean, he was even better than the last time I saw him, which is saying something, because Fred's been really great for years, for a long time. So I was really glad we got to do that, and I hope that Ring of Honor saw that same improvement, and saw that same fire and passion, and brings him back and gets him in full time.
if things work out, you win the championship, he sticks around. Is he going to be one of the first people you defend the title against?
I would love to. I'd love to give him that chance. I would. He's on the list. I think Wheeler Yuta's on the list. Alex Shelley. So many people. I mean, it's really a blessing, for lack of a better word, that there is such a wide range of amazing wrestlers right now that can fill out a division like this, or fill out a company based on this style. They're out there.
If people are reconnecting with you, they haven't seen you since Evolve, or they are starting to become a fan of you, through this tournament. Is there a match or series of matches that you would point them to that they can maybe check out to better familiarize themselves with you, whether it's one that you've had in Ring of Honor so far or Evolve or anywhere else that you've worked?
Yeah, I mean, if they've been watching the Pure tournament, I think this so far has been the best sort of example of who I am in this company. But outside of that, I think if anybody was to seek out some of my matches with Eddie Kingston in AIW in
Mm-hmm.
Ohio, I think he's somebody that brings the best out of anybody he's in there with, especially somebody who shares that sort of aggressive style. I think we bring that out of each other in a really cool way. So I would check any of those out in AIW. And I think I really was able to find myself in Beyond Wrestling over the years. So I would check out some of the stuff from there for sure.
Uh, I'll add one more to the list. I
Yeah,
actually
please.
got to see it in person. It was against Zack Sabre Jr. in Philadelphia.
Mm.
And I forget
For Ring
what.
of Honor.
Yeah, I think it was like the episode that Bullet Club like got the crap kicked out of them, but
Yeah, I know
uh
at least that taping was the last
or yeah,
taping.
that taping, maybe not that
Yeah.
episode, but that was a really really fun one. And yeah, so I mean there's a bunch of stuff, people, if you're watching or listening, you can check out on ROH TV, YouTube. I'm sure AIW is like on Powerbomb, I believe, or into
Yeah, it's now
IWTV.
called IWTV.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
but
So
but yeah, that one with Zack Sabre was really really fun. The thing is, like with my matches with him, I always feel afterwards like, oh, I could have done better. Like, oh, I could have. I could have been better. I could have got this hold in a cooler way. I could have done all this harder and better. I mean, I do that with a lot of matches, but especially when you're in there with somebody like that, where you have such like high expectations, where like,
Mhm.
everybody's watching and like comparing and everything. But yeah, I really enjoyed that one. That was really early on in my ROH career. Um, and that was when things were really starting to get rolling. And I haven't felt like they've really been rolling since until now. So now is the
Mhm.
time where hopefully I can even improve on that. Yeah.
I know you get this question a lot. I've seen you explain it. I believe it was on the ROH website in a 10 questions interview. Chuck Taylor's responsible for giving you the name Hot Sauce.
Hmm.
Are there any
Yeah.
other names left on the cutting room floor that he tried to give you, or was Hot Sauce always
Oh
the one?
man. I mean, I want to say there were hundreds, but it's been it's been so long since I've seen them. Oh man, let me try to think of. I mean, the one I've thrown out before that people really ran with that was on that list was hardwood rich mahogany, which was a very very good one. I don't know that
I don't know. That's a good
he.
chant.
I don't know. Yeah, right. Yeah. I don't think he actually came up with that, but it was on the list. It was on the list. It was a very collaborative list. There were a lot. Some that you can't say in public, or but there were plenty. But that's one that I've thrown out there before.
Fair enough. So you call him Hot Sauce, call him Tracy Williams.
Don't
After
call
this
me hardwood
weekend,
rich mahogany,
don't
please.
call him Hardwood Rich Mahogany, but you could be calling him Ring of Honor Pure Champion after this weekend. Tracy Williams, thanks very much for your time.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you having me.